All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone who well, peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect, the Bayath, Dawadah, the house of David. All right, so let's just go here, right? As you can see right here, right, Nicolas Maduro tells court he's still president of Venezuela and pleads not guilty, right? Because see, what they did is this thing was an operational takedown, right? Because Nicolas Maduro wasn't going for the BS and madness that Esau was coming with, right? So this was an operational strike. See, operational takedown, because they wanted to forward their technocratical world, and he wasn't going for it, meaning the tiny tops, small hatters, right? They want to push off their agenda, their new world order. Right, so they need to set up a puppet, right, in order to push off their agenda, and he wasn't going for it. So this is what brought in the surgical strike, and furthermore, they wanted resources and things of that nature, gold, oil, silver, and things of that nature out of the vast place of Venezuela. You see. So in order for them to do that, they had to do a surgical strike, a surgical takedown, right? Which is all spearheaded by Nero 47, which comes from the elite, super elite banking families. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, right? Which henceforth pushes off their what? Their sustainable development goals. 17 of them, right? You see? So to do these things, they have to bring in and do these things, right? With their takedown, right? So let's go here real quick in scripture, right? It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou wipe the looking glass, and as it says, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. It says, set him not before thee, least when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, and neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. It says, who will pity a charmer that is bitten with the serpent, or as such as come nigh wild beasts? All right, let's jump down here. Okay, it says, let's read verse 12. It says, verse 15, it says, for a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagined how to overthrow thee into a pit, and he will weep with his eyes, but he will find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee, and he will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. See, there you go, right? Because that's what this devil is all about, man. Okay? The devil's going to come in there, right? And this is why we tell you these things that are going on, right? So Nicolas Maduro, right, understood that these things is going on. So he's on trial in New York City, right? So what did I tell you, brothers, about New York City? New York City is really the stomping ground, right? The stomping grounds of the elites. Why? Because it goes back to this right here, right? So I put New York State, right, was the first capital of America, and this is correct. It says, yes, New York City was the first capital of the United States under the Constitution, serving from 1785 to 1790, hosting George Washington's first inauguration in 1789, and the creation of the Bill of Rights before moving to Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. It was also the capital under the Articles of Confederation before the Constitution was ratified, right? It says, first under the Constitution, New York City became the first capital under the new U.S. Constitution, with Congress meeting there in 1789. Historical events. It says it was the site of George Washington's first presidential inauguration, and where the Bill of Rights was drafted. It says duration. New York City served as the capital from 1785 to 1790, right? So about a good roughly 5 years, right? It says including the Articles of Confederation period. It says transition. The capital moved from Philadelphia temporarily and eventually to its permanent location in Washington, D.C. right? So let's go back here. That's why the first place they took him was to the federal court in New York City. See, so let's play
With
some of
ousted
this.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Venezuela's First Lady Celia Flores, both arraigned in federal court here in New York City today. The couple determined to deliver their message as they face the judge 48 hours after their capture by American forces and their extraction to the U.S. Maduro and his wife under heavy guard today, driven from a detention center in Brooklyn to a waiting helicopter flown over the East River to lower Manhattan and then loaded into an armored vehicle taken to federal court. The couple standing before the judge pleading not guilty to charges of narco-terrorism conspiracy along with cocaine and weapons charges. Maduro referring to himself as the president of Venezuela, his wife calling herself the first lady of the Republic of Venezuela. In fact, Celia Flores' defense attorney saying she was injured in the raid. And as Nicolas Maduro was being taken from court, he called himself a prisoner of war. His defense attorney questioning the legality of...
This is Jeremiah 28:8. It says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. And isn't Babylon the Great, aka America, a great kingdom, right? Of war and of evil and of pestilence. And as you know, we can see that, right? The CBDC, they produce nothing but pestilences, right? It's supposed to be the center of disease control, but you got to pay attention to the word. Okay? Pay attention to the word, understanding what it means, okay? They're not controlling it. They're creating it for destruction. You see, because this man is the man of lawlessness, right? Wickedness. You see? Right? Henceforth, while you got chemtrails that go out throughout the air all day long, barium oxides and stuff like that, and different chemicals and metals and things dropping down into the air, breaking down your immune system, and so on and so forth, right? Okay? All right? The heart program and so on and so forth, right? You see? Plum Island, all right? Plenty of different other things of that nature, man. All right? See, and these are the things that we're prophesying against, right? We're prophesying against the destruction of this man, right? Okay, because this man is nothing but the harbinger of death. All right, so let's go back here.
His, quote, military abduction. Our chief investigative correspondent, Eric Katursky, was in the courtroom, and Aaron leads us off tonight.
A little more than 48 hours ago, Nicolas Maduro ruled a nation with 30 million people and the world.
And see furthermore, this man is making his own tongue fall upon himself, right? Because we're not ignorant to Satan's devices. Let me get that. Okay? Second Corinthians 2:11. Right? It says, least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of Satan's devices, right? We're not ignorant to his plan, right? Because his plan is all about his technocratical new world order, right? You see, as you can see, he's going into these different countries, right? Taking them down, right? Okay, to push off his global agenda. All right? You see, so their own tongue is falling upon themselves in the news media, and so on and so forth, right? Let me get Psalm 64 and verse number 8. Right? It says, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. See that? You see? All right, let's go back here.
World's largest oil reserves. Tonight, the deposed Venezuelan dictator is a shackled criminal defendant, whisked from jail in Brooklyn, flown across the East River by helicopter into lower Manhattan with his wife and co-defendant Celia Flores to face federal drug charges. Escorted under heavy guard to an armored vehicle for the short ride to federal court, where canine...
This was all a devised operational plan. You see? Micah 2:1, it says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it. It is because because it is in the power of their hand, right? So as you can see, right, Job 9:24, right? Job 9 in verse number 24, it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? You see? Okay? All right? And we know that this man is the man of lawlessness, the man of wickedness, right? Who's pushing off his agenda, right? And his agenda is a technocratical world, a new world order. all right? A totalitarian, authoritarian government, a system of servitude where everybody is under a one-world government of slavery, right? And those who oppose his government, red list, blue list, yellow list, concentration camps, right? Death, guillotines, right? Guillotines, and so on and so forth, torture rooms and everything of that nature, right? Those who oppose this man's system and this man's society. All right? See? And take down those leaders, right? And his goal is to take down those leaders who oppose his system. See, as you can see, what went on with Nicolas Maduro, right? And then there's been so many others. Okay, Gaddafi and so on and so forth, right? Okay.
9 dogs roamed the hall, and U.S. Marshals inspected the courtroom chair where Maduro would sit.
Nicolas Maduro's presence inside Manhattan federal court brought protesters here outside, some denouncing the U.S. military action that captured him, others supporting what President Trump ordered.
Inside, Maduro greeted spectators in the courtroom, saying Buenos dias. He put on headphones for Spanish translation and rose in his seat as the judge asked, "Are you Nicolas Maduro?" "I am the president of the Republic of Venezuela," a defiant Maduro responded. "I am here kidnapped. I was captured at my home in Caracas, Venezuela." The judge cut him off. Maduro's wife declared, "I am the First Lady of the Republic of Venezuela," before the judge interrupted her.
As you can see, they tuck them against their own will. See? And that's how this man plays, right? And brings him and puts him in his court system, right? You see? Nicolas Maduro is more, he's an Israelite, you know? You see? But these things are going down right in front of your face, right? Because this man is a fugitive and a vagabond running from justice in the earth, but he is committing crimes in the earth that he thinks he's not going to pay for. All right? This man thinks he's not going to pay for the crimes that he's committing in the earth. This is Ecclesiastes 8 and 11. Right? It says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is set fully in them to do evil. Right? And you see, it says, though a sinner do evil 100 times and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with him. The fear of Yahweh, which fear before him, right? So these devils think that they're going to execute all these things, all this wicked works, right? And that they're just going to get away with it, that nothing is going to be, there's not going to be a recompense for all their wicked works. But there is going to be a recompense for all your wicked works, all right? There is going to be a recompense. You see? All your wicked works are going to be, it's already being found out and put on the forefront before the people by the prophets. You see? Okay? It says, let's go here. Let me see. Nope. I want the 15th. I want 2nd Esdras 15. There it is right here. 2nd Esdras 15 and 6, it says, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Right, and whose hurtful works is fulfilled? Edom's hurtful works is fulfilled. Right? This man is trying to play, he's playing both roles. Right? He's trying to play the righteous as well as the wicked at the same time, but knowing his role, his official role, is nothing but being more than the wicked. You see? Because the Hebrew Israelites, we are the righteous. We are the people of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. We are the ones who putting you on court. Right? You're being put on court. All your crimes are being brought up. The gavel is being put down on your ass. All right? Through the scriptures. Right? Through Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay? Everything is being filtered out through the scriptures on your ass. All right? You see? So let's go back here. Let's finish up this here and we just gonna close. Okay?
The purpose today is just to ask who you are. Prosecutors say Maduro and his wife worked together to traffic cocaine.
What the government is alleging is they literally were handing out passports to drug dealers. They were engaging in murder and kidnapping, using the diplomacy, using the veil of the Venezuelan government to pursue this drug conspiracy.
Asked how he pleaded to the charges, Maduro said, "I am innocent. I am not guilty. I am a decent man. I am still president of my country." Flores then stated her plea, not guilty, completely innocent. Maduro's wife appeared with a bruised and bandaged head. Her lawyer said she may have a fracture or severe bruising on her ribs. Maduro's attorney called the U.S. raid a military abduction and said Maduro is the head of a sovereign state, immune from prosecution.
You know, because on Nero 47, he ain't nothing but just a spearhead for the tiny tops. Right? He's taking orders from on high, from the super elite, from the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Abrahams, the DuPonts, the Gettys, right? He's getting his orders from on high. Okay? You see? That's why he had to go down there and he had to go pay homage to them devils. Right? Because he's nothing but Nero 47 ain't nothing but a devil himself. All right? He's a devil as well, right? You see? All them devils is going to be vassals in the kingdom. They all going in 149. Psalms 149. See, right? They think they're going to escape. Right here, let me get this last scripture before we do this here. Psalms 149. Psalm 149, right? They're not going to escape none of the things that they're doing. They're not going to, all of these things that they're doing, right? They're gonna have a payment. There's going to be a recompense for it. Okay? There's going to be a recompense for it. Right? So let's get this here. Psalm 149 in verse number 6. It says, matter of fact, yep. I'll start at verse number 5. It says, "Let the saints be joyful in glory, and let them sing aloud upon their beds." It says, "Let the high praises of Yahweh be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with feathers of iron." Right? Because they think they're going to escape, go under these underground cities. Right? They're going to get away and escape this nuclear destruction that's coming to Babylon the Great. Right? And in the wrath of Yahushua, right, which is going to obliterate all their armies, all these other nations' armies, and Esau'S armies, right? Yahushua and the angels, right? Okay? While simultaneously beaming up the elect. You see? They're going to get busy out here. That World War III is going to happen, man. All these prophecies are going to come to pass, right? And then ultimately, when the elect, the first fruits, come down from out of the chariots after seeing the destruction of Babylon and the obliteration of it, right? They're going to come back down and they're going to grab you devils up. Okay? You will be the first fruits of slavery, and you will know that Yahweh Bashem Yahushai ruleth in the kingdom of men, and he's going to set up one that is profitable, and that's Yahushai, who's coming to set up the tabernacles of David, the house of David. All right? Okay? The righteous kingdom, the divine kingdom. All right, it says to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with feathers of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Right, so let's end this video off here. Let's continue
As
on
Maduro
here.
was led from the courtroom, someone in the gallery stood and shouted in Spanish, "You will pay in the name of Venezuela." Maduro stopped and turned to face the heckler, saying, "I am the elected president. I am a prisoner of war. I will be free."
So let's get right to Aaron Katersky, who was in the courtroom today. Aaron, as all of this was playing out in that New York City courtroom, Nicolas Maduro's son, also, of course, indicted here, was addressing the National Assembly back in Venezuela, saying, "Dad, you created a strong family, that the nation is in good hands while we await your return." But Aaron, it would appear that is unlikely to happen anytime soon, if at all.
If at all, David, it could be a long time before Maduro even stands trial here. As lawyers said today, David, this is going to be a complicated case, and Maduro is going nowhere. He didn't even ask for bail today and returned to jail where he is tonight. It could be March before we see him again. That's when he's next due here in court. David?
Aaron Katersky reporting with me live on the air earlier today as this was playing out. Aaron, thank you.
You always wondered why that.
All right, so as you can see, they ain't nothing but a bunch of devils. So with that, we're going to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Marakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and Ruel. Peace and blessings and citation to the hopeful elect, the Bayah, Dawadah, the house of David. Amalek, your time is up. Shalom.